Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. It's a great privilege to stand here on the floor of the House, even at this late hour, as we prepare to hear tomorrow the President of the United States come before the joint session of Congress to talk about how America can get back on the right road, on the road to recovery from this long recession, and how we can create jobs here in the United States. For many, many months now, my colleagues and I have been here on the floor and have submitted legislation time after time and week after week talking about specific programs to create jobs. I want to thank my colleague on the Republican aisle for his presentation and the solution of doing away with regulations as the way of creating jobs. He mentioned getting government out of the way, and he also mentioned the Hoover Dam, which was built with borrowed money. Yep, they borrowed money to build the dam, and it did, in fact, create jobs. Now, whether there are regulations or not, the fact was that the United States created an enormous infrastructure system in the past. And for the last decade, we've done very, very little. Even though we borrowed a vast amount of money to build infrastructure projects in Iraq and Afghanistan, but precious few here in the United States. We need to bring that money back home. We need to build those infrastructure projects here. And by all expectation, tomorrow when the President stands here before us, he will be talking about infrastructure, as he should. It is the foundation upon which we build any economy, and it's certainly the foundation upon which the American economy has been built and succeeds such as it is today. We need an infrastructure bank. We need to take money that we will borrow at about 1 or 2% interest rate for a 10-year note, put that money into an infrastructure bank, let's say it's $20 billion, reach out to the pension funds in my state of California, CalPERS and CalSTRS, the public pension funds, and say, here, invest in this infrastructure bank so that we can build projects in California, so that we can put in place the levees to protect us from floods. We can put in place the communication systems, the fiber optic cables, so that we can build the sanitation facilities, the water recycling facilities, the dams that we need for a growing population in a state that once again could be growing if we put in place the infrastructure. Nothing modest, but rather a bold program. A bold program to build America's infrastructure, to rebuild the bridges, to rebuild those facilities that are crumbling as a result of years of inattention. Infrastructure, construction jobs, putting people to work. And as the President said on a Labor Day, there are a lot of construction men and women out there that are prepared to get dirty in the job once again to end their unemployment. That's one project that I am sure the President will be putting forth to this Congress. And the question to my Republican colleagues, are they ready to be bold? Are they ready to step forward and put America back to work, or only talk about regulations and doing away with regulations? While we're talking about regulations, one of the regulations they want to do away with is one that would prevent mercury from being in our water and air. And it's as though somehow they must think that mercury is good for children and adults. We don't need more Mad Hatters around. What we really need is a safe, clean environment. And those are what the regulations are out there. And oh, by the way, if you want to stop all regulations, I suppose you would stop the President's effort to roll back those regulations that have no good purpose. Yes, indeed, the current administration is in the process of reviewing the regulations and eliminating, rolling back, and modifying those that no longer serve a good, useful purpose in protecting Americans. So, here tomorrow, we'll have the President speaking here on the floor of the Congress, talking about putting men and women back to work. We're some 250-plus days into this year, and to date, not one Republican bill has been brought to the floor that would create one job. A lot of bills have been brought to the floor that would actually eliminate tens of thousands, indeed hundreds of thousands of jobs. What we need to do is not to address the deficit with immediate cuts that actually constrain and restrict the economy. An austerity budget is not called for as we limp along in the current economy, but rather a growth budget. Infrastructure bank being but one example. There are numerous other examples. A tax policy that's rational. Let me just put this all in the context moment of what we talk about on the Democratic side, which is jobs, putting people back to work. We can do that. And the Make It in America agenda, which I have here, is just that kind of agenda to put Americans back to work. We talked already about infrastructure, well, which is down here. It's not at the bottom of this list. It just happens to be at the bottom here. It's the number one thing that's on the agenda. We also should talk about research. Yesterday, I was in Davis, California, invited there by a biotech company that uses biotechnology to manufacture bioherbicides and biopesticides. These are naturally occurring chemical compounds found in plants and animals and bugs that actually kill bugs or kill other plants. They formulate this using research that comes out of the universities in California and around the nation. That research is extraordinarily important. It's creating a whole new industry of safe, biologically derived chemicals that are safe in the environment, that actually come from the environment and kill bugs in agriculture or unwanted plants. That's what we need. That's the research agenda, part of Making It in America. Now, I notice that joining me on the floor is my